What is going on, beautiful people? I am Lee Hammock, the diagnosed narcissist known as mental illness, and welcome to another episode of relationship advice you didn't ask for from a diagnosed narcissist. Today's episode, y'all, is going to be about how you need to update your relationship resume. And this is, like I said, this is a step off from the stuff that I do normally. I talk about toxic relationships every single day, y'all. Y'all see me 3 videos a day about toxic relationships, narcissists. This is still about toxic relationships, but it's just a little looser. This series is just a little looser and more all-encompassing in things of that nature. Because, like I said, you need to. When I mean by update your relationship resume, it means that like you can't live off of the stuff that you've done in the past. You cannot live off of things that you've accomplished in this relationship in the past. You cannot the stuff that you do and the stuff that you deal with when you're dealing with narcissistic people, toxic people, whatever in a relationship. Like narcissists try to live off the residuals from the stuff that they do in the beginning of a relationship. A lot of toxic people, a lot of people in toxic relationships do that as well. A lot of people in relationships that have just gone downhill. The relationship might not be toxic, but it's gone downhill because the people in the relationship have not updated their relationship resume. It's just like a job, y'all. If you have a job, right, it's your first job. Like you add that to your resume is clean. You might have some education and stuff like that on your resume, right? But now you can add that job. Now you can add it. Like they promote you within that job, right? They promote you in that job. So okay, cool. You add that to your resume. They give you another promotion. You can add that to your resume. So then if you decide to quit this job or go to another job, your resume has been updated. Like you're not going to take the original resume to the second job and not include the stuff that you've done at your previous job, the first job. You see what I'm saying? You have to update your resume in your relationship just like you would do if you're going to try to find a new job. But except in a relationship, you're not trying to find a new job. You're trying to keep your partner happy. You're trying to keep your partner there with you, and you're trying to keep the relationship strong and things of that nature. People who are set in their ways typically will not update their relationship resumes, and it makes people unhappy. Like most of the unhappiest relationships that I've encountered when I talk to people, I've talked to thousands of people, y'all. That's not me joking with you in any way, shape, or form. I've literally spoken to thousands of people when I do my Zoom calls, my one-on-ones and things of that nature. I've talked to thousands of people, and I was like, what have you done for yourself? What have you done for each other? And typically we went to dinner last year. Like what last year? Like, whoa, last year. It's January 2nd, 2023. When did you do this last year? March. So you haven't done anything different since March. Everything it becomes lackadaisical. It becomes lackadaisical and kind of like it kind of becomes monotonous in a relationship. It doesn't have to be a toxic relationship, but sometimes the relationship does become toxic because you tend to ignore each other, or one person is ignoring the needs of the other person. Like I said, people in these relationships like to live off of the residuals of what they've done before. When I say residuals, at the beginning of a lot of relationships, not just the toxic ones, at the beginning of a lot of relationships, people tend to put their best foot forward and go all in. They push all their chips to the center of the table, like you playing, like you're in Vegas or something. You push all your relationship chips to the forefront, like you do all the stuff together. Y'all just clapping cheeks back and forth. Y'all going on trips together. Y'all doing all this stuff together. Y'all love each other. You in love. Y'all doing so much together, right? But it's like making the big early deposit in a bank account. Like you put $1 million in the bank account, right? It's like you put $1 million in the bank account and you don't put anything else in the bank. Like you decide to live off the residuals or the interest from that initial $1 million deposit. The same thing works in a lot of relationships, toxic relationships. A lot of people make one initial lump sum deposit at the beginning of the relationship, right? And then they make one initial lump sum deposit at the beginning of the relationship, and they try to coast off of that. They try to live off the interest of the love that they deposited in the beginning of the relationship, but that doesn't work. It can work for a long time, but that doesn't mean both people are happy. That means both people maybe have settled into this relationship. So you have to start to do more in these dynamics and things like that. You have to start to work harder to keep the person happy in your relationship. That's why I say typically if you're dealing with a narcissistic person or a toxic person, they're going to refuse to update they're going to refuse to update their relationship resume. They're going to the stuff that they do in the beginning, they're going to try to live off that for a long time. They're going to tell you things like, hey, look, they're going to tell you things like, hey, you can't ever say haven't done anything for you, because I've done a lot for you. I've done this for you. I've done that for you. I've done this for you. I've done that for you. They're going to start listing off the stuff that they've done for you. And they're going to refuse to do more. They're going to be like, if you're not happy, then you can leave. They'll tell you to leave. Rather than updating their relationship resume and doing more stuff for you, they'll offer you the door. They'll tell you to leave, or they'll threaten to leave themselves. They're like, well, since neither of us are going to be happy here, I guess I'll be the one to pack up and leave. They'll leave you. You see what I'm saying? They will leave you. Because you refuse to update your relationship resume, they will leave you. They will pack their stuff up and dip on you, because they don't want to do anything else. They're like, well, you're not happy here. I've done so much for you. They like people. A lot of toxic people like to live off the interest from the initial relationship deposit, from that love bombing phase. Typically in the toxic relationship, it's going to be a love bombing phase, and they're going to live off the residuals, from that toxic relationship. They just are. They're going to live off the residuals from that toxic relationship. They're going to do things of that nature, and they're going to keep moving around and doing things like that. They just are and they will settle and live off their residuals forever, y'all. It doesn't mean they might not ever go back to being who they were. They might just like to live off of the stuff that they're living off right now and be happy with it. And then if you stay with them, you might have to accept them. That you might have to accept the fact they're not going to change who they are. They're just not. They're not going to change who they are. They're like, oh, I'm fine with who I am. If you're not happy here, if you are not happy here, why don't you just leave? They'll show you the door. They absolutely will. They will show you the door. So if you're dealing with people like that in those types of situations, they will absolutely show you the door. They will absolutely kick you out. They will absolutely do things like that to mess with you. Why wouldn't they? They don't want to update their resume. And if you're going to be in a healthy, happy relationship and not a toxic one, both of you have to update your relationship resume. What have you done for this person? What have you done for your partner? What have you done for your significant other? Because that type of stuff absolutely matters. I know a lot of people don't think it matters, but it does. You have to update your resume. Like the stuff that worked in the beginning might not work now. You might not be, look, if you haven't updated your resume or added some new skills or something like that, you might not be qualified for the person that you're with now. That person might have outgrown you. You see what I'm saying? If you don't keep requalifying yourself for this person that you love, then they might outgrow you. So updating your relationship resume might be a necessity to keep this person happy. Because if you, the more and more, the less you do for this person, typically the angrier they're going to get with you. Typically, the more unhappy they're going to be with you. And some people especially in toxic relationships, they get conditioned to the point where they don't speak up for themselves. Like they get scared to speak up for themselves and ask you to do something new for them. They want you to be spontaneous, but a lot of times the spontaneity was at the beginning, and they feel like they don't need to do it anymore because they got you. You can say something to this person like, "Why don't we do anything fun anymore? Like, why don't you show me that you love me anymore?" And they'll tell you something like, I show you I love you by being with you. Like, I'm here, aren't I? I'm here, aren't I? If I didn't love you, I wouldn't be with you. They'll say things like that to you. You know what I mean? Because so now you have to empower yourself to be able to be the one to do that type of stuff. You have to be as strong as you possibly can, because if you're not, I promise you, you're going to live a very, very tough, tumultuous life. You have to be prepared for it. This is your life. You have to live with it. You have to deal with this person. You might have to deal with this person for an extended period of time. So if that person you're with is refusing to update their relationship resume, there might be time they might not be qualified for you anymore. You mean they might not? They might try to. If they do update their resume, what skills have they learned? What new skills have they learned? Because people grow. You're not the same person you were in the beginning. You're not the same person you were when they qualified you. When they qualified for you in the beginning of the relationship. With their original resume, you're not the same person you were. You might have grown. Your likes and dislikes might have changed. So if they might not be qualified for you anymore. So even if they update their resume, but they're doing old stuff, it might not work anymore. You see what I'm saying? In relationships, people have to update their resume. You just have to. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people don't like, well, Lee, I'm just tired. I'm not updating anything. To hell with you. I'm like, what I do? I ain't do nothing. I'm just a diagnosed narcissist trying to give relationship advice. You know, I've had to update the resume in my own personal relationship. I've had to do that for me, you know, just in my circumstance, just in my situation. I've had to do that for me. Because if I don't update my resume, then my wife will leave. You know, could I find somebody else? Yeah, but I don't want nobody else. I'm chill. I'm good, y'all. I'm good. So I update my resume. I do new stuff. We talk. In the way that the best way to update your resume in the correct way is to communicate with the other person. Don't just add qualifications that you don't need. You know what I mean? If you are a nuclear engineer, it doesn't make sense for you to go out here and get it's like going to get a music degree. I mean, if it's something you love, cool, you know. But if you're for relationship wise, it doesn't make sense for you to learn the Kama Sutra for somebody that's not into the Kama Sutra. You see what I'm saying? You don't need to add that certificate. You don't need you're a nuclear engineer, but you're adding air conditioning repair specialist to your resume. You don't need that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying you just don't need that for this relationship dynamic. But anyways, y'all, let me cut this thing short. If y'all like this series, just let me know. Just let me know if y'all like this series, want me to keep going or whatever, or would you like me to put it on a whole new channel where I do different things like this. But regardless, thank y'all for tuning in. Like and subscribe for more. And as always, Mental Healness is out. Peace.